All right, Thursday on the Rick Corey Sports Special means time for Union head football coach Kirk Fridrich, and all he's preparing is for another Union Jinx game or Jinks-Union, depending on which side of it you're on that you talk about. This is what the 8,000 or 1,000 connection between these two football teams. An earlier game in the season went 9-3, which nobody expected. Both teams have changed a great deal since then. Let's start by talking about last week, and then we'll get to Jinx. And last week was you had to have a kind of a gritty win against a Mustang team that wouldn't go away. After film, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought, I felt like if we executed well, we would have an opportunity to play a solid football game against Mustang, and you knew that they were a team that they were just kind of streaky. I mean, when they would play extremely tough for you, but they might be some situations where they get a negative play or something like that that would keep them from scoring. We thought their defensive front played really well. We thought their secondary was excellent, and I thought that they played well. But more importantly, I was excited about how our offensive line handled their defensive front. I thought Shaker did a decent job once he got into the rhythm of understanding their secondary, and a couple throws you wish you had back, or a couple of receiver routes you wish you had back. But overall, I thought we executed pretty well. The thing I was proud of is all three phases had an impact on the game. I felt like that, defensively, that we made some really nice plays in some crucial points. Logan Haney played really well at the linebacker position, 10 tackles, several opportunities. I told him he had a couple of PBUs, but those are dropped interceptions, I think. So no, but he put himself in position and did really well. And then, blocking a punt, the kickoff coverage was really good. So, or not blocking a punt, blocking a field goal right before the half. Ashton Cunningham with a great block there. A lot of momentum going into the half with that one. And Boston Carrasco, he's closed in on 1,000 yards receiving, had a great night. Had 4 catches, a couple of touchdowns, and so Boston played really well.
He and Stone both. Glad you brought up the offensive line because at times when you needed to control the ball, especially late, your offensive line and Jordan Shelling specifically, because Tay was out, did do that very thing. And that's the thing that'll win you football games, right?
Yeah, I think it was fun to see Jordan on track, and a lot of guys walked off the field saying that may be the best we've seen him since last season,
Hmm.
in the way that he ran the football and did a great job with that. And so a lot of tough running in there. We credit the O line, but you also got to credit Jordan, just that tough physical style of running that he does, and he's really good at it.
And not only that, Miles Davis, once again, your tight end has come along as a threat. He's been a player. We all know that. And he's the guy that scored the only touchdown in that earlier Jinx-Union game. But he has come along to be a guy they have to pay attention to. And he was again. What has developed about his game, or have you guys just targeted him a little more?
Yeah, I think Coach Ulibarri does a really good job. We have a tight ends coach that, I mean, he really focuses well on those guys. They have so many things that they do in their blocking schemes, adjustments, where they're supposed to be. Probably one of the most difficult positions offensively outside of the quarterback, to learn and execute. And just having a guy like Miles who has the trust of Shaker, who has great hands and athletic enough to make those plays. And having a tight end in the weapon in your passing game is always a tough thing to handle, and obviously we're glad we have him. Don't want to overlook his punting as well. There's so many games where we hadn't had to punt, and but he's just an exceptional punter and flips the field for us there too.
Explain, because I know you're a defensive guy. So I love to ask guys this from the opposite side. You're a defensive guy. You know the other guys have a tight end like Miles. He's big, he can block, he's got good hands. What does it do to you defensively? What kind of adjustments do you have to make?
Well, the easy thing is when you have that situation, those guys have to be question their run fits a little bit. You've got to play more honest, I guess, as I should say. And so, being honest in the run pass with some of your safeties or linebackers, who are responsible for those situations, makes it a lot harder, to just sell out against the run or whatever it might be. And then tight ends that understand spacing so well. Miles is a good basketball player, and those kinds of things. Understands those open zones, and finding those things are also really tough on those guys that are having to play the run and the pass. Really, what you'd say in that underneath coverage, not over the top stuff.
Yeah, it does create you something else you got to work on in practice, and
Yep.
that takes time away from other things, and that's a plus when you're in offense. Last thing on Mustang, anytime you play a game like that, that first round, if you will, a lot of times there were first round games that would be pretty easy games. You had to keep playing in that one, even if you'd get ahead and got, I mean, never felt really threatened, but they never felt completely out of it. Do you like the fact your team had to stay on edge?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think one of our goals was to try to, fight really hard to get to 14 points. I felt like against Edmond Memorial the week before, we got up and we got our points, and we talked to our guys about, try to get a two-score lead on somebody and then fight like heck to keep it. We let one slip away the week before, and it was really hard and really tough to try to stay in that realm of trying to keep that two-score lead, and then we let one slip. I think we had a turnover in the game, and had a couple of things where it got to 10, and had a couple of the receivers made some really good plays down the field, and so it cut to 10, and immediately our offense went out and went down and scored, had an explosive play, and got it back to 17. So the response of our team in that kind of situation, having to do those things and understanding where we were, I like the energy that you get from winning a playoff game. And so we're excited to get that and move into this week.
And there were some guys who didn't play because of injuries. Tell me what the week of practice has been like, and are you going to get anybody back?
Yeah, so we had a lot of spirit on, especially Monday. You could tell it was a big week. Obviously, it's the playoffs. You add Jinx to that, it makes probably even some more energy to it. So definitely, we feel good about where we're at. We're excited about some of those guys having an opportunity to rest and getting those guys back and being ready to go.
That'd be great. Again, we go back to the 9-3 game, which nobody expected. Both teams have changed a great deal since that time. Has Jinx changed the most?
Well, you would expect them to be more efficient. They definitely are. They've found, they had an identity, in their run game, but they're just more efficient in what they do. And then, the quarterback is obviously keeping you honest. They've got a really good passing game and attack, and they're really good at executing those plays. I mean, when you can recognize plays in the passing game, you know that team has executed them over and over because they look the same. Some teams you play and it's just kind of routes that guys are just kind of getting open. When things are precise, they're coached well. They're getting into those spaces. They're exploiting what the defense does. So playing really well there. Their special teams has always been really good. Playing well, it's a Jinx team. And then, defensively, those guys play, they're just so stingy. I mean, it's, multiple times they're getting shutouts on people, making it really tough on opposing offenses to try to move the football, creating opportunities there for the offense to have a short field.
How has Owen Jones improved? Because he has through the season. There was a time early he was taking a little bit of guff, but he's been efficient as they move that offense forward. What's he got better at?
Yeah, I thought he looked really good in our going into our first game, and when you have a new coordinator, Coach Wilkinson's over there, and so I think more comfort in what they're doing and how they're executing those things, I think is a big deal for a quarterback to having that comfort level of understanding where they're trying to go and what they're trying to do with the ball. And he's doing a really good job. They're running, probably more RPOs than they have in the past. And, he's making really good decisions with that.
How would you describe KD Jones as a player, as a runner? Again, as a defensive guy, you tell your guys, this guy's a speedster, this guy's a water bug, this guy's a power guy. How do you describe KD?
Well, I think he's just very determined. I mean, you're not, he's one of those guys that runs into a pile and comes out the other side. I mean, it's just so strong. Got a really good, stiff arm, runs really, really physical, but also has the attributes with the speed to just kind of go away from you. So kind of a slasher, but to me, it's the tough runs that he has, the determination that he has to go get that first down. And that's what I admire about him is how hard he plays and the determination he has with the ball in his hands.
There's so much writing on this one. You talk about practicing on Thanksgiving. You win this one, you get a chance to practice on
Right.
Thanksgiving. It's a
That's
Union
right.
Jinx game. You're moving forward in the playoffs. Those state championship games have been everything. We know that everything's on the line at that time. Somehow this feels as big to me. Do you get the same feeling, or does your team this week?
Oh yeah, it's a big game. It's this is why you play it, is to be in these kind of games, and it doesn't have to be a state championship game. It doesn't even have to be football season for Union and Chinks to do something. So wherever we meet and however that happens, it's always going to be a big atmosphere and it's exciting. It's a great time of year.
I'm glad you said atmosphere. In the 20 plus years I've been with Union, I think we've only played at that stadium for me to broadcast there a couple of times because, of course, you were at other stadiums or at University of Tulsa for a long time. So not very often you go over there. It is going to be loud. It's going to be somewhat raucous. And quite honestly, when you go to the West Side, most of the time it's been quiet. Do you do anything in practice this week to kind of get used to that noise?
You know, there's not a whole lot you can do to prepare to simulate a Union Jinx game. I think you try to play off of some of the past experiences that our kids have. Um, it is kind of, you might think it's odd to go over there and play, but I mean, our kids have been playing JV games, junior high games. I mean, we play them twice a year in the eighth grade, twice a year in the ninth grade, JV twice a year. So there's, quite a bit of familiarity in what they do in that place, but we know it changes on Friday nights. We know what's important, but our kids know where those locker rooms are. They know where it's at. And I told somebody the other day, every travel game we've had this year has been 2 hours. And so this kind of feels like maybe a home game just going a few miles down the road.
Yeah, across the river. That is nice. Last thing, if I were to ask you, what's the thing you think your team has to do best to come out the other side of this one and practice on Thanksgiving?
Exactly that. Play our best. I mean, when you get to this point and you're playing against a great team, you really need to execute. Mistakes get magnified. Special teams, offense, defense, and that sounds cliche, and I know you like to hear things, but at this point of the year, you've got to execute. You got to understand the playbook and put those 11 guys where they're supposed to be, and then a lot of times it comes down to 5 plays. I tell kids all the time that in tight games, there's 5 plays that will make a difference, and you either make them or you don't. The issue is you don't know which of the 5 they're going to be, but we need you to make plays.
Yep, that and the last thing I'll mention is penalties were very big in that first game, especially against Jinx. You got to be clean, right?
Yeah, we got to play well, and it was pretty even penalty wise outside of that one drive where they had a few there at the end in the controversial call, but definitely penalties make a big have a big factor in the game.
Well, I got to tell you, if the University of Tulsa was anywhere closer than Tampa, I'd do this one and drive. But I can't quite get to Tampa Saturday morning, so I'll miss this one. But I'll be watching it wherever we're having dinner. Have a great trip over there. Be safe, and let's hope that we're doing this again next week
That
before a
sounds
game.
yeah, that sounds great. Thank you very much.